This is NBK, nothing but Knicks. When Sim passed the assist, you know that it's #1 show that breaks down the game. If you can't play defense, stay out my way. Dribble the ball, come down the lane. 5 seconds on the shot clock, who gon' win us the game? You wanna hear Nick updates and trade rumors? Post-game reviews, this the place you tune in. So tell a friend just to keep the ball moving. Like the page if you feeling the movement. Every game we coming to win. Give us a sub like a player that came off the bench. This is NBK, nothing but Knicks.
Knicks family, what's poppin'? It's your boy. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here for a short time, not a long time. But I wanted to talk a little bit about the Knicks preseason games in Abu Dhabi. I know I'm a day late, but I'm not $1 short. You dig what I'm saying? Ladies and gentlemen, let's just talk about the faster pace. First of all, Joshua, what's poppin' with you, my brother? Glad to see you here. Kerry Cox in the building. I want to know what you guys think about the Knicks pace. I want to know what you guys think about the way the Knicks are playing. I'm going to tell you what I think. I'm going to tell you my thoughts. I definitely love the faster pace. You know what I mean? Push the ball, get it up, touch the paint, spray it out, shoot 3 if it's there. You know, and we can see it. Now, the score is not going to tell you that the Knicks are playing in a faster pace right now because, you know, it's preseason. So the starters aren't getting the full minutes. The rotations aren't necessarily there yet. But you can see this style of play that Mike Brown is pushing towards with the Knicks. Right? Move the ball with speed. You know, pace doesn't have to be just running up the floor and shooting it. That doesn't have to be pace. Right? Move the ball with speed. Cut with intention, like you're cutting to get the basketball. Set screens with intention. We got better screeners on this basketball team than we did last year as well. Yabusele's a good screener. Mitchell Robinson's turning into a much better screener, I think. Cat, hopefully, you know, is a better screener as well. We've seen Brunson and Cat pick and roll a little bit more than we did with Thibodeau being the coach. But let's get back and let's stick with the speed, then we'll get to some other things. You know, I love the pace. I think that pace is going to help everybody. You know what I mean? Especially Jalen Brunson. Playing with this kind of pace, getting easier shots. We can already see that he's playing more off the ball. Right? You know, there are going to be moments where he goes one-on-one. That's it. He's the Knicks' best one-on-one player. He's one of the best one-on-one players in the NBA. So there's going to be moments when Jalen Brunson goes one-on-one, and I don't care about that. What I want to see is easier shots for Brunson because he had to work so hard last season to get shots. It was a struggle. And he still was unstoppable. But you could see it in his body language that, not in his body language, but you could see it in his play that it would wear him down with as much as, you know, how much he had to go one-on-one to score the basketball. And the Knicks needed that from him, so he had to deliver. But with this style of play, it's going to benefit Brunson. It's going to benefit some other people more, I think. Mikal, OG, Deuce, maybe. Deuce looks good. He's a little trimmer, a little faster. He looks more aggressive going to the basket. You know what I mean? He looks more decisive out there on the floor. He understands what he's doing a little bit better. Playing this type of pace is going to help Deuce, I think, too. But Brunson, he's going to get easier shots, right? He's going to get, you know, shots from the corner. He's going to get fast break threes. You know, we've seen Bridges push the ball up to Brunson so Brunson can get an easy look at the basket. We're going to see a lot more of that. And, you know, when you play with pace, it creates energy. And when you have energy, the more energy you have, the better you're going to be down the stretch. You know, now it's very hard to play this style of basketball the entire game. You know, defenses figure out a way to lock in. I think we'll see, I think we'll see two things early on in the season. I think we'll see the Knicks struggle with the pace against, good competition, real NBA games. I think we'll see them struggle with the pace, meaning they might turn the ball over a little bit more than we're used to. They'll still be figuring out where they're going to get their shots. But as it starts to click, then I think we'll see them excel with the pace. And then we'll see teams adjust to it, strategize against it, and maybe the Knicks will drop back a few pegs, and then they'll have to figure that out. And figure out how to continue playing with that pace, even when teams are strategizing against it. The Knicks have a lot of weapons out there on the floor, so if they can play with this kind of pace, they'll be able to utilize more of their weapons, which is going to make it much tougher for teams to stop them. OG looks more decisive. He only played one game, but he looked decisive. If let me tell you what, if OG can have the type of season that I'm asking for, let me say that. If he can have the type of season that is an all-star level season, I don't care if he makes the all-star team, just an all-star level season, it's going to be huge for the Knicks. I mean, it's really going to make them unstoppable. You know what I mean? But I really do like the pace that the Knicks have been playing. East Blue Drew, you said Mike Brown was their answer. I mean, we still got to see. You know what I mean? I think the Knicks have the clientele. They have the players to play this style. If they push the ball up, it doesn't necessarily have to be with speed running the ball up, but if they push the ball up, they have the players to play this style. I think they have the depth to play this style. And if you're going to play fast, then yes, you will need to use more of your lineup. I still think Mike Brown stops at 10, 9 or 10. But if you're going to play fast, then you got to figure out a way, to use you don't want your guys to wear down. You don't want them to be tired. You want them to be able to play at this pace. You know what I'm saying? Kudos so far to Mike Brown and the Knicks and the coaching staff, the players, everybody, for giving us a glimpse over these first two games on what the Knicks could possibly do, what their offense could possibly look like. We've seen a possession or two where, 5 dribbles, 5 passes, 5 players touch the basketball and then a bucket. That's what we want to see. Because we have too many weapons to stand around and watch Brunson dribble. To stand around and watch 2 players go for broke every game. We have too many weapons to do that. And then guess what? There's going to come time when we have to do it. There's going to come a time in the fourth quarter where we've got to go one-on-one, where we've got to stand around and watch. And guess what's going to happen? Those guys will have energy because they haven't had to go one-on-one the entire game. They've been able to play a more fluent style of basketball, which is going to produce more energy, which is also going to save energy. Sounds weird, sounds crazy, but I think you understand what I'm getting at. It's going to produce energy as far as the team is concerned. It's going to conserve energy as far as the players are concerned, and you'll have more energy in the fourth quarter when you really need to go one-on-one. So really looking forward to see how this thing is going to play out throughout the preseason as Mike Brown is developing his lineups and learning how to use players. And then, of course, in the regular season. You know what I mean? I want to hear what some of you guys are thinking about it. Kings, you said the style should give Bridges and OG some more opportunities. It should. Because those guys, everyone's really going to be trained to run to the corners if you're in that position because, with a certain lineup, you have all 5 guys that can shoot from the corner. Now, if Mitch is on the floor, Mitch is going to be the guy that runs to the basket, and then you'll have 2 guys run to the corner, 2 guys run to the wings, right? Keeps that floor spread. Well, I'm sorry, 2 guys run to the corner, another guy run to the wing, and then the other guy's a ball handler trying to push the ball up. But That's going to spread the floor. It's going to open up the floor. Open up the floor for Mitch to get something inside, but open it up for three-point shooters, open it up for guys like Clarkson and Brunson and Deuce to penetrate to the basket. But with OG and Bridges being the three-point shooters that they are, they're going to get crazy, crazy opportunities. I agree with you, Kings. Not only that, but they both can slash to the basket. We've seen it from OG last season, naturally being able to slash to the basket. And when you got a passer like Brunson, he can pass a little bit. When you have a passer like Bridges out there on the floor, when you have a passer like Karl Anthony Towns, you're going to find those guys cutting to the basket. You know what I mean? It's going to be a lot of fun plays, I think, this season. So definitely a lot of things to look forward to when it comes to this offense. Ryan Dool said Bridges was misused by Tibbs last season. I'm hoping Mike Brown can use Bridges properly. It's hard sometimes to, every player is not going to come right in and the coach is going to know exactly what to do with every single player. You know what I mean? So, maybe Bridges was misused a little bit. I think we've seen with Tom Thibodeau, as time went on, he figured out and learned how to use players to their strengths. He's not going to get a chance to do that with Mikal Bridges. Hopefully Mike Brown is able to figure out how to use Mikal Bridges a little bit more than Thibodeau did. Now, Mike Brown has had a chance to look at video with him playing with this particular basketball team, talking about Bridges. So, he can be a little bit ahead of the curve. You know what I mean? The one thing I will say about this pace, not about this pace, but about the lineup, I'm still a little scary about the ball handling. I still feel like Brunson is that guy that can handle the rock. I'm not worried about it being taken from him, but someone like Mikal Bridges, a little bit of pressure. I seen Kelly Oubre decide to press up with Mikal and take the ball from him. So I'm still concerned about that with this lineup. Is there strong enough ball handling in this lineup when the shit really hits the fan? Is there strong enough ball handling? I'm still concerned about that. You know what I mean? Now, maybe the team will be smart enough to do it by committee, smart enough to pass through presses, pass through traps. But I'm still a little bit concerned about ball handling of this lineup because it seems like Brunson is the only guy that can truly handle the rock and handle it against pressure. So I'm interested to see how that turns out with Mike Brown. You know what I mean? Well, and I'm pretty sure the team's gonna figure it out, and Mike Brown will figure out the best lineups. You know what I mean? But I'm still concerned about it a little bit, especially when you want to play a fast pace. You got to have guys that can handle the rock a little bit, not a little bit, a lot bit. You got to have guys that can handle the ball, guys that aren't afraid to handle the ball against pressure, guys that can beat the pressure. Right? If you don't have guys that can beat the pressure, and I'm not talking about just Brunson, you got to have more than that. If you don't have guys that can beat the pressure, handle the ball against pressure, then it might slow your offense down. Right? Because those guys are feeling pressure, so they curl up and protect the basketball, and now everyone's standing around like, hey, pass it over here, pass it over there. And that guy's panicking a little bit. So with that first lineup, I'm still a little bit shaky about handling ball pressure if it does get thick. But we'll see how it goes. JJ, you said Clarkson might be our second best ball handler. Maybe. I don't know if he's our second best decision maker, though. We're going to talk about him in a second. Matter of fact, you might be segueing me to Mr. Clarkson himself. But yeah, I think you're segueing me into talking about Jordan Clarkson. Because he might be the second best ball handler. But do not think he's the second best decision maker out there on the floor. To me, that's Malcolm Brogdon. He's the second best decision maker to me. And he can handle the basketball. I'm not worried about that. So let's talk about Jordan Clarkson. And we'll get back to talking about the pace and things. Because, with Clarkson, listen, the guy can score the basketballs, no doubt about that. Right? He's a scorer. That's what he was made to do. He was built to be a scorer. My question is, will Mike Brown need to rein Jordan Clarkson in just a little bit? Just a little bit. I watched him in these 2 preseason games, and he has the penchant, if that's the word that I'm looking for. He has whatever you want to say to take wild shots, And maybe we needed a player like that. Maybe we needed a player that was not afraid to cut against the grain. We didn't have that last year. Maybe we need he's going to piss you off. He's going to piss me off. I know that. But I'm also going to love him because of some of the crazy things that he'll do. And some of the plays that he'll make out there on the floor. And I do believe he's going to play with heart. And I don't mean play with Josh Hart. I mean play with heart, right? So I think New York is going to love him. He's going to be the John Starks guy for this basketball team, in my opinion. He's a creator, but his decision making can be faulty. We know that about him. So I guess my question is, will Mike Brown try to rein him in? Or will he just say, you know what, I'm going to let Clarkson go and be Jordan Clarkson because he's a threat? Me and Tony was having this discussion earlier today. Am I going to let Jordan Clarkson be Jordan Clarkson, or am I going to try to rein him in? What do you do? What do you do with a guy like that? I mean, is he the type of guy that you say you just got to let him do what he does and live with the results? Is he that type of guy? Or, he's 33 years old, so his habits are his habits. I don't think that you are teaching him anything else about how to play basketball, in my opinion. I think he is who he is right now. You're not changing his stripes. Ain't that what Phil Jackson said about Melo way back in the day? Tiger has his stripes. They don't change or some shit like that. You're not changing. You're not going to change his stripes. Jordan Clarkson is who he is. So how do you manage that if you're Mike Brown? Right? Do you just let him go ahead and do what he does, and when it gets a little bit too crazy, you pull him out the game? Or do you have to try to rein him in? Do you have to try to say, hey, these aren't the shots I want you to take. I want you to take this type of shot, this type of shot, and this type of shot. I think, I don't know. It's hard to say. I think from the beginning, you might need to let him be who he is. And then maybe pull him back a little bit. And what I mean by that is this. Had a young lady that I coached who was very shy. She was afraid she could shoot lights out. Right? But she was afraid to take shots. Sometimes she didn't want to take bad shots. If a defender was close to her, within 3 feet of her, she wouldn't take it, but she could still knock it down. And so I had to tell her, shoot the ball. I don't care if it's a bad shot. Shoot it. Take your shots. And so she started taking shots. She started taking shots from beyond NBA range, and she would make some, she would miss some. You know what I mean? But I wanted her in the mindset of taking those shots, and then I had to pull her back in and say, okay, now you're not afraid to take shots. Now let me tell you these shots to take. Right? So is that something you have to do with Jordan Clarkson right now from the beginning of the season? Let him do what he does. It's preseason. Let him do what he does. Get a feel for his game. Get a feel for the shots that he likes to take. And then start to say, okay, let me show you the shots we don't need you taking, and let me show you the shots we want you to take. I think it has to be something like that with Jordan Clarkson. JJ, you said he's on a team with title hopes. Rein it in, no chucking 1 verse 3 anymore. Yeah, I agree with you. I do. I agree with you, but I also understand where Tony is coming from because we had this conversation earlier, right? And if you try to rein him in, are you going to take away from the aggressiveness? Is he going to be thinking too much now? Is he going to be figuring out, like on the floor, figuring out what do I do instead of just reacting and playing ball? That's the line that Mike Brown has to toe with Jordan Clarkson. And it might not be an easy one either. You know what I mean? Because he's 33 years old. He's been doing this for years, and he's made a career out of being the player that he is. Right? And he's still in the league. He's still a wanted commodity in the league because of how he plays basketball. So how do you sit now to a 33-year-old and say, nah, change what you're doing? I don't know. That's a tough one. It's a tough one. Kings, you said Jordan Clarkson can be the sixth man. You have to love him and hate him. Mike just needs to know when it's time to take him out and settle him down. And maybe that's the answer. You just know, okay, let me get him out the game. And I guess in a way that is reining him in. Right? When you see when he's getting out of control, you bring him out the game. He asks, why am I coming out the game? Because you're getting out of control. Let me show you how you got out of control. And maybe that's part of it. Let's hope, and I don't know if I've seen it during preseason, but let's hope that he's maturing or is mature. Yeah, and I've never heard anything bad about Jordan Clarkson, so I don't want to say he's been immature, but just as a man, he's 33 years old, and he kind of understands a little bit more just about how to rein himself in, maybe. You know what I mean? I think when the game is on the line, and if he sees himself not out there on the floor, and he wants to be out there on the floor, you know what I mean? Coaches are going to talk to him, and coaches are going to explain what they need from him and what they'd like to see from him, and maybe he'll understand, like, okay, I've got to rein myself in if I want to be out there on the floor in these important moments. All in all, though, I think trap music, I think you're right. He will have some explosive scoring nights. There's no doubt about that. I think we all know that. He's going to have some nights that are explosive. And you're going to wish that he did that every single time he stepped out there on the floor. But, players like him, those 6 man of the year candidates, those guys that come off the bench are explosive that way, and then also can be that guy. You know what I mean? But all in all, I think he's going to be a huge addition for this team, because I do agree with Tony. I think he adds an element that we really didn't have last year. We suffered because of it. He brings some lightning in a bottle, that type of thing. A guy that can come off the bench and give you 30 on any given night. A guy that can come off the bench and teams have to respect him. Teams can be afraid of him. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think he's going to be a great addition to this basketball team. Vic87, you said, why is Randall still on the intro? Don't worry, I do have another intro without Julius Randle and without Obi Toppin. It's just not in this particular platform, but I will put it in the platform. I don't want anyone to get confused. I like Julius Randle, but I'm not saying, hey, put him back on the team. I'm rocking with the team that we got. You know what I mean? So, Debonair Polo Don said, I want to see Clarkson mix somebody out of their shoes. And we will probably see that this season. And listen, he's a guy that can create. And you know what? There's a lot of weapons on this team. And he might turn into a guy that can, because he has the ability to create for himself and draw attention, he might be one of those guys that can get other people involved. Maybe he surprises us that way. You know what I mean? So we'll see. I think Mike Brown may have to rein him in a little bit, and keep him under control, but I don't think it's going to be too bad. I think he wants to win a championship. And I think he wants to be a sixth man of the year candidate on a championship contending basketball team. You know what I mean? So, I'm excited for what Jordan Clarkson brings to this team. I do think he'll have to be reined in a little bit, but I am excited about what he brings to this basketball team. If you want to call in, ladies and gentlemen, give me a call. I'd love to hear your voice. Know what you think. 516-362-5212. All right. Share your opinion. Tell me what you think. 516-362-5212. If you don't want to call in, just put it in the chat. If I see it, I'm going to read it. All right. Let's talk about Mitch, though. Okay. Because, for years, Mitchell Robinson has not been a major part of the New York Knicks offense. And I don't know if you can truly blame Tom Thibodeau for that. Right? Let me explain why I'm saying that. Mitchell Robinson was hurt for a lot of the time. We know this. And Mitchell Robinson didn't do a lot to develop his own offensive game over the years. I always questioned not his work ethic, but who he surrounded himself with to prepare during the offseason, to train during the offseason. You know what I mean? And, those things were happening with Mitch even coming out of high school, obviously, with the way his whole, from high school to college went. So that was always a question for me. So he never really got a chance to grow within the offense. Yet, we didn't see, all we would see was, a handoff here, handoff there. He'd get his shots from offensive rebounds or, alley-oop here or there. I feel like Mike Brown is going to use Mitchell Robinson a lot more. If Mitchell Robinson is ready, his game, I think, can expand greatly under Mike Brown. I really do feel that. Mitch has to be ready. And you know what? He might be ready. You know what I mean? He might be ready. He's changed his diet. The brother bought a farm, to help him so he can grow his own food to change his diet. And he looks better. He looks healthy. He looks stronger. And I don't mean he looks stronger because he looks like bigger. He doesn't look bigger. He just looks a little leaner. So I'm expecting Mitch to have a really, really good season. A really, really good season. I think he is going to play a bigger role in the offense. I think that, last year he came back so late. Maybe we just didn't have time to really ingratiate him into the offense. He's here from the beginning this year. And I think the Knicks are going to use him more. I think he's going to, you're going to see him come off the pick and roll and post up deep in the paint. I'm not talking about post moves. I don't think we see that from him yet. But off that pick and roll, it's not just going to be him spreading the floor vertically, which we know that he can do. Right? But I think we're going to see him come off that screen and roll, post up deep in the paint. I think we'll see him get a couple of cross screens and post up deep in the paint, and our players will look for him. Don't be surprised if you see a Karl Anthony Towns to Mitchell Robinson pick and roll. You know what I mean? Because Karl Anthony Towns can handle the ball a little bit, especially if he has a bigger center on him or a bigger power forward on him. And he can pass, obviously. So I do think we're going to see more from Mitch. Even in game one, we seen him attempt to pass. I think it was to Brunson cutting to the basket. We'll see more than just, a couple of handoffs and a couple of oops. We'll see a lot of oops, though. But, so I am expecting more from Mitch. I think he's working hard on his free throws, and he knows it. He knows that his free throw shooting is awful. So I think he's working hard to improve his free throw shooting, and so I like to see the work ethic. I like to see that he's, really in the mindset to improve his basketball game so that he can play a large role on this basketball team. You know what I mean? And obviously the Knicks are going to need him out there. Polo the Don. He said he is our best overall defender after OG, and I would agree with you. You know what I mean? I think OG is our best all-around defender, which is the reason why I called him an anchor. But Mitchell Robinson is the guy who keeps the ball out the rim when guys get past our guards and go to the basket. You know what I mean? So, the Knicks need Mitch out there on the floor. Will he be out there in crunch time? I don't know. Because of the free throw shooting, and then you got the hack of Mitch and all of that. But he's going to have a major impact on this basketball team. He's going to have a major impact on how the Knicks play offense. You know what I mean? Playing a faster pace because the way he can spread the floor by being a threat coming down the middle, by being a threat to the oop, by blocking shots and creating and initiating the fast break. He's going to be major for this basketball team, no doubt about it. You know what I mean? One of the areas that we struggled some last year was rebounding. When Mitch was out, and we seen a huge difference when Mitch came back. You know what I mean? When he got in shape. Now he's in shape. He's in shape, and hopefully he doesn't get injured, but he's in shape. And listen, I'm not expecting Mitch to get injured this year. Let me tell you why. I think that Mitch has more balance. I think his coordination is better. He doesn't look as clumsy running up and down the floor. When he first got into the league, he was clumsy. He was clumsy. You know what I mean? And he, took a lot of falls and he landed awkwardly. I think he has more balance. I think he understands how to land better. You know what I mean? And it's going to help him to stay healthy, in my opinion. Right. So, I'm expecting Mitch to have a much bigger part of the offense this year, in different ways. And I think he's going to have a great year. I do want to know what you guys think about playing a double big. And if you think that double big is going to be effective for the Knicks. Cats, he'll be playing a 4. And I seen someone say that it didn't work in Minnesota. I don't think you can look at what they did in Minnesota and compare it to what the Knicks are doing now, because you got different players, different coaches. Rudy Gobert is a little different than Mitch. You know what I mean? I don't know if you can compare it. I don't know. Let's see what it looks like. Right? Let's see what it looks like. Cat would rather play the 4, though. That's what he wants to do. He wants to play the 4. He wants to shoot threes. In my opinion, he's not that great of a post-up guy. He can post up, but I just don't feel that he uses his body correctly to really push his guy down low and score close to the basket. I feel like when he posts up, a lot of times he's shooting fadeaways. instead of getting to the basket. So, you know what I mean? From time to time he'll be able to post up. But Cat wants to play out on the perimeter. He wants to shoot threes. He wants to be on the elbow. And you can use him in a bunch of different places, but I think Mike Brown is going to try to use him to his strengths. He's going to play some center, right? He'll play center with the second unit, and I think we've seen some of it in preseason. But that double lineup, that double big, it's going to be interesting. Here's the positive about this basketball team. One of the positives with this basketball team. We have many different lineups that we can use on the floor. So if we have the double big out there and teams are taking advantage of, playing with one big and going kind of small, then we can put out a lineup that matches up with their lineup. That's one of the strengths of this basketball team. Mike Brown has many, many variations of lineups to put out there on the floor. So if you're a good coach, which I think Mike Brown is, you can notice right from the beginning if that double big lineup is going to be a problem. And you can already have your substitution rotations, your rotations ready to go. We have the ability to play some small lineups that can still be effective rebounding the basketball because of our personnel. And maybe even still protect the basket because of our personnel. I mean, Cat can be part of a small lineup, to be honest with you. So I don't know. I'm not as worried about the double big lineup this year because of when I'm looking at Mitch, he's just in better shape. He's just in better shape. And that's going to help the team. That's going to help us to be able to use that double big lineup more effectively this year. And we didn't get to see a lot of it last year. You know what I mean? Because of Mitch's injuries. So we'll get a chance to see it this year. The double big. But Mitchell Robinson, ladies and gentlemen, and I seen someone say, it's a free agent year, it may be, but hopefully it sticks then. You know what I mean? If that's what it is for him, it's a free agency season for him. Hopefully it sticks, and he learns from it, and he becomes a better basketball player. Listen, he's the Knicks' longest tenured player. You know what I mean? Somebody, I don't know who it was. I seen somebody say something about, the Knicks having homegrown players. Mitch is a homegrown player, right? Deuce is a homegrown player. Let's hope these guys become what we'd like them to become. And Mitch is in line to do that. I got a caller on the line. Caller, you're live. Tell me your name and where you're from, please.
Blessings. One man, the chosen one, a.k.a. Jay Chosen. Peace to you in the chat.
Peace, my brother. How you feeling?
Blessings. Yep, first time. Look, I love what you're talking about, man. Everything you're talking about. I call this team Legoland.
Okay.
We can literally move and put pieces in different places to build different lineups.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, what's going on? Peace to JJ, peace to man, Landu, peace to Kerry Cox, peace to all y'all. What we could do, the beauty about Mitch when he played with your guy and my guy, Randall. Yeah. See, we gotta love Randall. We gotta give props for Randall. Give people their flowers while they're still alive so they can water them themselves so we don't have to water them for them.
No doubt.
He was the first to do it and come here.
The Knicks
what beauty about Mitch with people like Randall was when he played tough underneath, it allowed Randall to get them inside rebounds, those offensive rebounds, to putbacks, to grab stuff like that.
Yeah.
But with 2 7-footers and the way this team is constructed, and you have Cat playing out of position. Well, out of position turned into an all-star show up, right? Out of position turned into second in rebounds for the year. Crazy double-double number. What did he end up with? 25 and 13 almost for the year.
Mm-hmm.
He could drag him out to the post, come out to the 3 line. He could shoot from where he was. He could go inside. He could run with it. I love the fact that Mitch is healthy. Everybody, this is the first time, and I'm gonna say this as a big Pat Ewing fan, as a big that whole team, and we used to bring in players that were past their prime, big name players, good name players, Orlando Blackmans, and people who played that were just past their prime. We have a team, a bench. Last year we were horrific in the bench, something like 21 points in the bench. We got one person now could almost do that by himself. Mm-hmm. Actually, if you let him go ham, he can do that by himself.
Right.
My personal opinion is, and I'm sorry I'm over talking and not having a conversation, but
you're good. Finish up.
My personal opinion is bringing in Cat and Yabu in that second unit is more of that half-court style, stop you defense instead of just having that team run north south on you. They have to think about going east and west because of Mitch being underneath the basket. Cat may be a natural power forward, but playing him together. Now, somebody had mentioned that it didn't work out. Well, in my recollection, and I don't like talking about other teams, but they did come in first place, tied with OKC in Denver the year that they played Gobert and him together as 2 7-footers. So it can work out. But on this team, I think it's Legoland. I think you're going to see so many different variations of lineups due to who we're playing. And that is something that we have never really seen in for the Knicks, definitely. I don't remember seeing it where we would have a starting unit. So I believe we're going to have one starting unit. I don't believe Mitch is going to be in that starting unit.
You don't?
Okay. I also believe they're going to limit Mitch's minutes so that he can stay healthy. Mm-hmm. It depends on the team, but you're going to see them together sometimes. But I really like that he's healthy. He's maturing. He is definitely like the Steven Adams of the the offensive rebounding second chance guy. But if you let them, and one last thing, JB being, we don't like the JB Carmelo dribble, right? If you put somebody needs to be back there with him as another point guard. JB is a combo guard. He is a 1 or 2. Yes, he's a point guard, but he's not a natural point guard. He's not going to just give up the ball. He is a scorer, just like Cat is a scorer.
I agree.
And when he used to get stopped before the half line, right before we got the half court, we need to have somebody who's also either a point guard or a combo guard to start in that 2 slot to go with him. That's another reason why we can't start double bigs. Mm-hmm. For those 2 reasons, I think that, Mitch, Yabusele, Clarkson, and maybe Hart, maybe Deuce, I don't know. They're coming, that second unit. And let's not forget, second units don't come out all at once. You know what I'm saying? Right. They come out 3 at a time. They come out 2 at a time. They come out for rest. But we look good. Think about this, man. This might be the best composed Knicks team on paper, and I hate saying that. That to me, the game's never played on paper. But on paper, this team right now looks like a very hard team to beat.
Yeah. Right. They got to put it together, though.
So,
you know what I mean?
And they got to put it together. They definitely got to put it together. Continuity is important. You got to learn each other.
Mm-hmm. And, Mike Brown might be the guy to put them together, though.
Go ahead, brother.
Mike Brown might be the guy that put them together. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be interesting. So many Mike Brown has a hard job. So many lineups the Knicks can use, like you said, Legoland. I like that.
In Legoland, yeah. For sure.
So many lineups. He's got a hard job figuring out which lineups really work together, putting them together, figuring out who can play together. You know what I mean? So it's going to be interesting to see how he goes about doing it.
Yeah, I think listen, after still a Tupac lineup, I think all eyes on him for real. It's a real deal. Like, who are we looking at this year?
Exactly.
Mike Brown. That's who we're looking at.
Yeah.
We're not looking at Mitch. We're not looking at them. We're looking at Mike Brown because last year that circle of trust went so small and so tiny. By the end of the year, they couldn't lift their arms up to shoot a free throw in the last series.
That's Tibbs, man. That was Tibbs.
So yeah, and that's Tibbs, right? That's Tibbs. Yeah, but Tibbs didn't have the. Not that I'm going to go back in time. Not that I want Tibbs. I'm not a Tibbs. What do you call that? Enthusiast or cheerleader? But Mike Brown has.
He's got more weapons.
Great and bad and interesting problems.
Yeah,
but I don't think he has bad problems.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Not at all.
Man, I appreciate your time, bro. Especially for staying up late, calling in. I definitely appreciate it.
Absolutely. I appreciate you, brother. Great show. Great talk.
Appreciate it.
Blessings and peace to you and your family, my man.
Same to you. Peace. My man, Uncle Fulio in the building. Josh, a.k.a. Uncle Fulio, formerly known as Uncle Fulio, said different variations of units is no problem. I agree 100%. The most important thing is a consistent starting lineup throughout the season. I also agree 100%. This team should win 60 games and the number 1 seed. Brunson for MVP. Book it. Woo. Brunson for MVP. I would love it. You know what I mean? I would love it. Let's see. We got a long ways to go. Let's see. I'm about to get out of here, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Josh, formerly known as Uncle Fulio. We need to talk. I need to get you back on the show. Let's make something happen. The Knicks play Thursday night against the Minnesota Timberwolves, ladies and gentlemen. I'm really looking forward to see Mike Brown start to get those rotations in place. You know what I mean? I'm hoping we're starting to see a little bit more of what those rotations look like in this next preseason game. I know, there's still a few preseason games left, but I would like to start to see what it looks like, and start building that chemistry with the rotations or with his rotation, whatever his rotation is going to be. It's never too early, in my opinion, to start building it. And I know he's new to the job. There's a few new players on the team, so he's got to figure it out. And he's also got to test out some of these young guys, like, Dadier got some burn. He got the start in game 1. Got some burn definitely in game 2. We'll see if that's something that sticks or if he's just giving them a chance or if he's just showcasing them for other teams. I don't know. But folks, I appreciate you all for jumping in. Joining me. I know it was a late night show. I'll be back on Wednesday night. Definitely be back on Thursday night. I'll be doing the show. I'll be watching the Knicks and the Giants at the same time. I see some people in the chat that are a little, hurting about the Giants. Listen, man. The Giants just can't get out of their own way. 5 turnovers yesterday. 3 fumbles, 2 interceptions, whatever. We can't get out of our own way. But we have something brewing. I feel we have something brewing. We just got to stop making those, dumb penalties, turning the ball over. You know what I mean? Darius Slayton lost us the game. I mean, we're down in the red zone. He fumbles the ball. Had a chance to take the lead back. Right? But not this year, but I believe we got something brewing with this football team. You know what I mean? So anyway, you know what I mean? Knicks versus Minnesota, Thursday night, MSG. I'll see you guys tomorrow night. See you guys Thursday night, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate your time. I'm out of here. Got to get some rest. Peace, folks.
This is NBK, nothing but Knicks. When Sim passed the assist, you know that it's #1 show that breaks down the game. If you can't play defense, stay out my way. Dribble the ball, come down the lane. 5 seconds on the shot clock. Who gon' win us the game? You wanna hear Nick updates and trade rumors? Post-game reviews, this the place you tune in. So tell a friend just to keep the ball moving. Like the page if you feeling the movement. Every game we coming to win. Give us a sub like a player that came off the bench. This is NBK, nothing but Knicks.